I mean, my friend, he died of lung cancer. His personal experience in his 20s and 30s when he's smoking like a chimney was, it's not bad for you. I feel good. I feel fine. While all the while inside, his lungs are turning blacker. And so we can't depend on our senses as the final determining factor. So this absolute truth coming to us through our Vedic scriptures and line of perfect teachers is what we should rely on. If a person can achieve that faith in the teachings, and go according to that with intelligence rather than what the mind says or what the senses say and what our friends say and society says. If we can just understand that's not the real authority, here is the real authority, and follow that, then we'll come out perfect in the end.
So I had a friend who asked me a question, and I thought this was a question that could be relevant to everyone. I think it is, and because he was wondering about how if you decide that you want to practice, like you decide that spiritual life is something for you. You want to do that. You want to make a choice. You've made a choice that that's the way to go. You've come to that stage. Then, and he himself, well, the question is, what now? That's basically his question. What now? What do you do? And what's a plan that could work for such a person? And which things are more important? Which things are less important? Kind of the balance between things that, like your daily practices and your meditation practices and other lifestyle practices. What is important? What's on the table? I guess that's the first, aspect of it. What's on the table, so we can kind of understand. Because, here's Breaking Trail. You have 56 podcasts. There are a lot of things on the table. Which things are which and which are important, and right now what you need to get more profound in your spiritual life, in your journey. I guess that's something like that.
Well, yeah, that's a valid question. So first thing one should do is become educated. I mean, you can't go in any direction in any sphere of life without some knowledge, some education. So that's the first step. You start getting a little educated in what's available. And there's a philosophy that we must, hear to gain the proper education, because there's a lot of teachings out there that aren't correct. So, it kind of goes back even further back. How serious is a person in really, I want to pursue spiritual life, but to what degree of sincerity is that decision made? Right. Because the Lord is in our heart. He knows our sincerity. He knows what we want. See, we got an idea, maybe I want this and that in spiritual life. The Lord knows that. And there's different spiritual paths, different spiritual teachings. And so the Lord guides us basically to what we want.
According to our sincerity, like
according
how much
our desires and our determination. What brand of spiritual life, so to speak? What kind of spiritual life? Because there's all kinds of stuff that's called spiritual.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
It's either completely not spiritual or kind of touching on it, or semi, or mixed, or whatever.
Yeah.
So if a person is brought to the table, if you will, of Bhakti Yoga, then they will begin to hear who they are, number one. I mean, this is very basic information that we need in the beginning. Who am I? And we learn we're spirit soul. We're not the material body. So therefore, after that knowledge is imparted and we accept it, if we do, then I have to start thinking, well, what's good for me, the spirit soul? because we've been so conditioned to think I'm the body, and what's good for me means what's good for my body, what's good for me materially, what's going to bring me material pleasures and sensual experiences that I enjoy, and at the same time avoiding things that put me in distress or bring pain to me or take away from my enjoying mood.
And it's like, it's so natural, like you say, we're so conditioned that we don't even maybe think about it. Like someone, you can say this and someone can say, well, I don't necessarily consciously think like that.
Yeah.
But you don't. That's the point. It's there in the background. You've been conditioned or trained or shaped.
We've been doing it for lifetimes.
Yeah, not even this lifetime.
Yeah, but this and previous.
Yeah.
So, now we just, according to our sense perception, oh, that's a pretty girl. Yeah, I'd like to get to know her. Mm-hmm. That would be good for me, my pleasure, if I could hook up with her somehow. And then you kind of just start making the movements necessary to bring that to the table, you see.
Yeah, I can see that.
So that's what we're conditioned to do now. Or what kind of, I hear some music, I don't like that. Oh, I like that. Oh, there's going to be a concert of this kind of music or this band. Oh, I'm going to go. So we're just taken to wherever we are by our idea of this will bring pleasure to my ears and to my eyes and to my whatever sense is involved. Oh, I like that's a new restaurant. Let's go there.
Yeah.
I haven't been to that one yet. And, it's Indian food. I like Indian food. Oh, I never tried Indian food, but I liked it. Whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just a dictation of the senses.
And then, that place I don't like, or that won't bring me pleasure. So pleasure, and avoid that is not pleasurable for my body. And
so it's always choosing. This brings me pleasure, or will, or hopefully, and this won't, or didn't, or can't. And that's the basis of our decision making.
Yeah.
So when we come to spiritual life, we learn another truth. I'm not the body. I'm not my senses. I'm not my mind. And all the pleasures that I may experience through those avenues of material pleasure, there's nothing for me, the spirit soul. So that's why it's important to know who we are. Because until I know who I am, spiritual life in many cases doesn't make sense. Oh, don't do that. What do you mean don't do it? I like doing that.
Yeah, and I get pleasure from it.
I get pleasure. I've been doing that for years, And so when we hear, but it's not good for you, what do you mean? You, the spirit soul, see? So when we learn that we're spirit soul, and all the pleasures of the body never make us, the spirit soul, happy. It's of no value to us. And so then we have to redirect a whole lot of things. Oh, this will be good for me spiritually. And in the beginning, we just were reading about that yesterday in a retreat. We were talking about how, the material pleasures that we may like are actually going to be bitter in the end. Let's just say, there's so many examples. Smoking. People who smoke like to smoke. Yeah. But did they like it in the beginning? Usually not. Usually the first few times a person smokes that tobacco, it's not. It's kind of like it gives them maybe nausea or headaches, or they just don't like it. But because of the addiction and the way it affects our mind and bodies, we start not only liking it, but get addicted to it. And we can't not smoke. See, but what is that we're moving toward? Ill health. And on the cigarette packs, it even said 50% of all smokers die of smoking-related diseases. You go, But you don't even read that stuff.
No, you don't.
Or it causes cancer. It causes, all these problems, So you're moving toward that as the bitter taste of your enjoying cigarettes. And the hospitals are full of people with lung cancers because of smoking. A friend of mine died from lung cancer, which was no surprise to me. He smoked from the time I knew him in junior high school or before. I mean, he was always, I don't remember when he didn't smoke, and a lot, not just occasionally. And I kept saying, Jack, that's not good. But he just kept going, and he died of lung cancer.
Wow.
At 50, I think, somewhere around 50.
Yeah.
So, no surprise. So it turned out bitter in the end. Whereas spiritual activity, spiritual involvements and paths may start out bitter. I don't like this. Oh, can you sit and meditate for 20 minutes, with these mantras? I don't like to, I'd rather be doing something else, So the scripture described that if we can understand it, what is bitter in the beginning, spiritual life, will become nectar in the end, because it's actually there. There's actually nectar there. We just can't taste it. What we were reading yesterday was about the jaundiced tongue. The jaundice is the disease of the liver.
Yeah.
And things that are sweet taste bitter. So they referred to it as the jaundiced tongue. And so the mantras, chanting the holy names and so on in the beginning, may be like that.
It's actually sweet,
but as it purifies and you get well, then it starts tasting more and more sweet. The sweetness was always there, but because of our disease of ignorance and contamination and conditioning, we can't taste that. The sweetness is there, but we can't taste it. But when we become free of the disease of ignorance, then we move toward the real sweet taste. Oh, it's a little bit, I don't mind it so much. Kind of enjoyable. This is really good. And so it was always there. It was always really good.
And with, like you said before, to come back to that, with wisdom, with proper knowledge, you will see that it makes sense that this is good for you, and then you do it regardless whether like the taste of it is a little bit bitter.
Yeah,
right?
You get away from dependent on your personal experience, and go beyond that to knowledge.
Yes.
I mean, my friend, he died of lung cancer. His personal experience in his 20s and 30s, when he's smoking like a chimney, was just not bad for you. I feel good. I feel fine. And he was a fit guy, an athletic guy. See, so his experience was wrong. While all the while inside, his lungs are turning blacker, and the cancer's susceptibility is increasing with every puff, and etc. So we can't depend on our senses as the final determining factor.
Right.
So knowledge is what we need. So this absolute truth coming to us through our Vedic scriptures and line of perfect teachers is what we should rely on. Because this is coming from knowledge, people who know. And forget about what I think or what I feel or my experience is different than what I hear, because we have imperfect senses, very imperfect. And so if a person can achieve that faith in the teachings, and go according to that with intelligence rather than what the mind says or what the senses say and what our friends say and society says. If we can just understand that's not the real authority. Here is the real authority, and follow that, then we'll come out perfect in the end.
Yeah. So then if you have that, so first you're not your body, then this wisdom, but again to come back to this table of different things to put into what's the next step?
Well, again, with the knowledge that we have access to, we're told, first step, hearing. So that's what we're talking about now, hearing. Hearing all this knowledge, this truth, this information. And not all the knowledge. I mean, the knowledge is unlimited. Just hearing, you're not the body, your spirit soul. Let's just say that's all you heard. And what you should do, it should be in connection with you, your spirit soul's well-being. Okay, so that's all you know. You don't know all this other fathomless amount of information. But you know, or you accept that much.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so then you go to the table, and here's the 9 processes of Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. And the first process is hearing. Well, you've already begun because you've heard about your identity. Mm-hmm. And, of course, also in the first stage of hearing will be this mantra, or these mantras are transcendental sounds, spiritual sounds. They're not material sounds. So they have spiritual power coming from the spiritual world. And when you contact this spiritual transcendental sound, you, the spirit soul, get purified, you get benefited, you get nourished, you get helped. So hearing is the first process. So you hear that. The next step is chanting. Okay, here's the mantras, here's the reason why to chant the mantras, or maybe you don't even hear the reasons, you just say they're good for you. Let's say. Or maybe you don't hear anything, but you just happen to be among a group of people and the chanting's going on, or you go to a class and there's not all this elaborate explanation. They say, okay, we're going to relax with this Garanga breathing meditation. Yeah. And that's all. And so you just sit there. You don't know anything about Garanga and the whatever. And you do it, but you still get purified. So now you've entered into the chanting step. Mm-hmm. And then the third step is remembering. So you remember what you heard. Don't forget it. Oh, I heard it, but I don't remember it. I forget it. I don't pay attention. No, you remember. That's part of the process. Don't forget what you've heard. You're not the body, remember? And that has to be reinforced again and again and again. Because for lifetimes and lifetimes, it's been reinforced. You are the body.
And so that's where association is important, because then you'll have reminders, from other people who remember. You help each other remember.
Yes.
And else you'll have people around you help you forget.
Right. And everybody will help you forget. I mean, the whole society is geared to forgetting the truth and remembering the non-truth. Everybody knows McDonald's. Mm-hmm. But how much money they spend a year on advertising is amazing. It's not like they're trying to bring it to the first time this person's attention. There's a such thing as McDonald's. We're a restaurant, and we serve Big Macs. Yeah. I mean, everybody in the world knows that. But it has to be bombarded, reinforced again and again and again. Go to McDonald's, the Golden Arches, Ronald McDonald, bring your kids here, Happy Meals, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just again and again and again, so it's just part of your psyche. So, we've heard that forever. So now you got to hear more than one time. Remember, you're not the body. Oh, you're not the body. You're not the body. You're not the body. Your spirit soul. Your spirit soul. This is who you really are. We need to hear it, but where are you going to hear it? Only in association with people who are following these teachings. Yeah. Or from the scriptures that we read, and almost on every page that's presented. And so that's why association and constant study and reading and hearing is necessary. Yeah. You can't just go to one program and hear this and, okay, now I know that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then go out and hear the McDonald's ads 100 times.
No.
So that's the third step is remembering. Those 3 are the most important. Hearing, chanting, and remembering. Mm-hmm. And then along with the hearing will also come additional information. Like worshiping, praying, offerings to the Lord, practical service, helping those who are serving the Lord if you can't serve directly, and so on and so on. So there's many parts, but it must start with hearing, chanting, remembering. Get up in the morning and remember the mantras. See, Get up in the morning and let that be a part of your first thing, everyday activity. Chanting the mantras. Thinking about, look in the mirror in the morning when you go to take your shower, look in the mirror and go, that's not me. That's my body. Rather than, how do I look today is, oh, the body's looking tired today, or the body's feeling tired, or the body's feeling very good, whatever. The body is not me. I'm now starting to get it right. My body is sick, or my body is healthy, or my body is strong, or my body is beautiful today, whatever. I'm now starting to get it.
How my body feels today, and what's... Yeah.
And so it's reinforcing. And some people even put little reminders around the house written on a card, on a refrigerator, on the mirror in the bathroom, on the door that you're going through frequently. You're not the body.
And just to say that, I was in a retreat the last week, and they had these notes in the bathrooms. But the note didn't say, you're not your body. They said, look at you, how beautiful you are.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in Norwegian. So it's funny that you mentioned that.
Yeah. And that's the New Age positive thinking.
Yeah.
You're beautiful.
Yeah.
You're the best. You're wonderful.
Well, yeah, but look, it doesn't matter. If you have a note that says you're not your body, don't worry about it then. Your body is ugly, your body is beautiful. It doesn't matter. It's not you.
Yeah, it's not you. Because very few bodies are beautiful anyway. And you can put all the cards you want on the wall saying that you're beautiful, but it's not real, You, the spirit soul, are eternally beautiful. But the body we're in is very rarely beautiful. And, look how much money is spent every day, people trying to make their body look better.
Exactly.
All the creams and the hair and the makeup and the Botox and...
money and effort and time and...
Effort. Yeah, so... you start putting things in perspective. Now you're living in a world of reality, of truth. And it always is a reminder, and continue to chant. And after you've chanted to some degree, and that's individual, it starts just being in your head anyway. It's just like in there. You wake up in the morning, you don't even have to think about chanting the mantras. They're just there. There they are. Because it becomes part of your psyche. And people say, oh, you're just talking about everybody should be brainwashed. Well, if there's one part of the body that needs washing more than any other part, it's the brain. If you want to go on that subject, who doesn't need their brain washed?
Yes.
It's just the darkest, filthiest thing of all.
I agree.
So, we should appreciate that brainwashing, but they say it in a negative way. You're just being, coerced into believing
manipulated, or well,
you're being conditioned. And
well, that's our point. You're being conditioned already.
You're already conditioned, and we're trying to undo it.
Yes.
So no, we're just saying. Well, that's why these advertisers forever since I was born, they have little jingles, a little musical sound, a bunch of words he's saying that'll stick in your mind, advertising their product. Let yourself go to Pizza Hut. They don't just say, let yourself go to, they make a little tune. Mm-hmm. Let yourself go, and you just start singing that little tune. It's stuck in there, and it drives you crazy sometimes, And
it can be stuck there for years.
And for your life, really. And somebody reminds you of it, and there it is. It's just like it never went away. Coke is it? Coke is it? Da-da-da-da. Coke is it? So that's not unknown. That's common stuff. Yeah. And what we're saying, if you're going to have something in there, and you are, something's going to be in there anyway, why not have a transcendental sound that's going to purify you, the soul? It's going to be a continuous playback of what you need to hear. So if the mantras are there first thing in the morning, That's not a bad thing. That's great. You know, so it's see, they've taken all these truths and they've perverted them to make it so your mind and consciousness is filled with material things that will keep you attached to the world and keep you involved in this illusion of, this is my happiness. I mean, every ad is trying to make you think if you eat this, if you drink this, if you buy this, if you go to this place, it'll make you happy. I mean, that's the reason they advertise, right? If they make it so that whatever their product is presented in a way that's not going to make you happy, you're not going to buy it.
No. No, of course not.
It's going to make you miserable. You never buy that.
But yeah, well, that's also on the same subject of the question from this person. He was also, he really liked, we spoke about the ascending and the descending process, and he really was attracted to the descending process. But
the ascending process?
The descending.
Descending.
He was more attracted to the descending process. He thought that was, but he also wanted to make a plan, and generally, ascending method is more like you make, I guess it can be described like that if I'm not wrong, like you make a plan, you're going to do this and this, and with your power and with your like mental capability or your strength, you're going to climb up to the absolute truth. But the descending process also needs some kind of planning and some kind of structure, I guess.
Well, the Bhakti Yoga process is fully structured. So that's why we have our practices. Sadhana Bhakti is devotional service in practice. So every day when you wake up, you practice. You chant the mantras as prescribed, you know, Gauranga meditation or chanting on the beads, japa meditation. You attend morning programs where there's offerings made to the Lord, you know, where people gather and chant if there's no people. You know, now, fortunately enough, there's online early morning programs, so you can just join online. And there's everything you need, just like if you're in a temple, you know, but it's online and you can chant the different morning prayers and make your offering, you know, to your screen, because the screen is a display of the deities, and you can actually offer the flower or the apple or whatever it is that you offer. And there's a group of people there that are chanting, and you chant with them. It's just like being there almost. And in fact, it is being there in the real sense of the word. So that's available now. Before it wasn't. I mean, when I first started chanting, there was no anything. No, nothing. There wasn't even cell phones. We didn't even have a landline. I mean, we were living in an ashram. It was remote enough. There was no electricity. And there was no telephone, not even the old dial-up kind. But we had everything we needed. We had mantras. We had our spiritual master to teach us. We had the scriptures to study and be taught, you know, by the master. The scriptures were taught to us. And so it was arranged by the arranger, the supreme arranger. So you can't say, well, you know, I was on a remote island in Hawaii. There very few people lived on the island at all, you know. And yet I had everything. I had full facility for all of these activities of hearing, chanting, remembering, offering, worshiping, you know, practical service, being guided by a bona fide spiritual master, et cetera, et cetera. And I was just in the middle of nowhere, you know. But it was arranged by the arranger. Because of your sincerity. Well, myself and others included that were serious. And so obviously the Lord knew that, and he just arranged it. So here it is. And the community grew. More people came. Here's this facility. And they understood, well, yeah, this is attractive to me. There's a lot who didn't. You know, it's not like everybody came, but a lot of people came.
But that's also what people think spiritual life is about, to come back to that and to be out there in the forest. And because you spoke about material attachments, so someone could also think that the goal
About
is
what?
you spoke about material attachments.
Oh, yeah.
And so many people would perhaps think that that's the ideal scenario, is to live more in those conditions that you lived, like away from society, because you don't want the material attachments. You want to get free of those. But
Well, in one sense, it's a big plus. You know, I mean, that's been done for forever. Ashrams and,
yeah,
you know, people kind of leaving society and going to a conducive place.
yeah,
So it is good, but very few people can even do that. You know, I mean, how many people can just pull up stakes and go to such a place?
no,
I mean, some can, but a lot of people cannot. So does that mean they can't be successful too? And of course, no, you can be in the middle of the biggest city of all. You know, my spiritual master, Bhaktivedanta Swami, went to where? First, he went to New York. That's a big city. Then he went to San Francisco. That's a big city. And then he went to the other big cities. You know, Seattle, Washington, Toronto, Canada, you know, London, England, Paris, France, et cetera, big cities. And he didn't say, oh, you're in the city, you can't make it. Okay, here you are, you know, very big city, very busy, but this is what you can do and be successful. Yeah. Right here in the middle of these biggest cities on the planet, Tokyo, you know, and so it's not correct that, oh, if I could just go live in the forest somewhere and do that, I would be more successful. Not necessarily.
Again, the mantras are much more powerful than you can imagine, and what you can, I mean, if you implement them in your life, they will change your life regardless of you being in the forest.
They overcome all material obstacles.
Exactly.
All material influences, etc. Well, you have to give yourself to them. You know, you have to make a decision if you're in this big city. Okay, this is the direction I'm going. I'm focusing on this. You know, and maybe your lifestyle previously in the city has been the opposite of what it should have been. These are all the bars, all the clubs, all the forms of, you know, degradation that you want. It's easily right at your fingertips. It's cool. You know, there's a lot of association there. Everybody will take you in.
You're welcome.
So you have to make a decision. No, I'm not going to do that. You know, I'm going to take this other direction in life.
Yeah.
And some people are more naturally inclined to spiritual life than others, a lot more. I just talked to a girl yesterday. She's 29 now. And you could tell just from the first time I saw her that she was, you know, a little cleaner, a little different, a little, you know, not just materially covered up. And so when we talked, it became obvious that, you know, what I could understand was correct. She never drank. She never smoked. She never liked to go to parties. She wasn't involved in some relationship with a guy. You know, she was, and she said, I've always felt like I'm not from this planet. I don't belong here, you know, because she's thinking, I don't like any of this stuff. So I'm alone. I really don't belong. And I said, you're right, because we belong in the spiritual world. But that was just she didn't learn that somewhere. It just came from inside. She was never attracted to any of that from very early. Yeah. And she never ate meat, by the way. Oh. Well, I don't know if she didn't say never. She said, I don't eat meat. Yeah. And it was just natural for me to not eat meat. Yeah. And nobody trained her or told her, oh, if you eat meat, this is your karma. No, she just, I don't want to eat that. I don't want to drink. I don't want to smoke. I don't want to be. And so she said, all my friends think I'm crazy. But she said, I don't have many friends. Yeah. But her associates at work and so on, They just think she's strange, like you don't do all the things you're supposed to do.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, what's wrong with you? And so she was very happy to find, us who don't do those things. It was like we can relate to her. She's not abnormal. She's perfectly normal and very benefited by being so.
Yeah.
And so it made her comfortable, just thinking, wow, this is a nice thing that I've come on to. And she just saw an ad somewhere and came and, So everybody's in a different place. But back to the idea of your friend originally, it's all laid out in Bhakti Yoga. You don't have to decide it. You just follow. Hear, chant, do this, get up at this time, do this morning program, do some practical work. There's people that are promoting these teachings that need help. Get involved. You've got energy, you've got talents, you've got ability, utilize them.
Use them, yeah.
That's spiritual life. That's practical devotional service. And you learn more about the Lord. Pray to the Lord. He's real. If you have prayers, direct them to the Lord. You have desires and wishes. You want to talk to somebody, talk to the Lord. And that's laid out. I mean, you don't have to wonder, well, what should I do? Well, what's priority? Hearing, chanting, remembering. That's the first three.
Yeah.
And then the others, not that they're less important, but you really can't be effective in doing the rest until you do the first three. That's what brings you to be qualified both, mentally and enthusiastically and so on in doing the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Perfect training.
I see what you mean, because you can have the correct way, but you're not motivated. You don't have the inner strength to go through it, because it might be bitter in the beginning, like we started speaking about. So you need the strength, and you need the determination, you need the correct motivation.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a spiritual motivation.
But if you don't have it, that comes from the chanting, following these activities. It says in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 12, it says the best thing is to just fix your mind 100% on the Lord. Just be fully engaged in thinking of the Lord and helping the Lord, serving the Lord, 100%. That's the best, obviously so. But he says if you can't, this is the Lord speaking, but if you can't do that, then follow the regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga, and you will develop a desire to know me. So, okay, I don't really have a desire to know the Lord. Follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, and you will develop that desire. And what we have a desire for becomes easy.
Yeah.
Maybe the execution is not easy, but it's easy for us to do it.
Yeah.
Because I want to do it.
Yeah.
Look at all these people that do these amazingly difficult things in the world.
Yeah.
and why I want to. I have this burning desire. Yeah. I can't not do it.
Yeah. And those things are very hard.
I mean, Everest.
Yeah.
That's a big endeavor. And there's other ones harder than that. But everybody's heard of Mount Everest. But this year, 478 people got a permit to climb Everest. Okay. So the permit costs $11,000. But then by the time you add the guide and the whole expedition expenses and whatever, what it comes to, $65,000 to $100,000. Just to try. That doesn't mean you're going to get on top. That's just to try. So you got to want to do it. You're not up there doing all, and of course the danger of losing toes and fingers and noses and life. I mean, this year 12 people died and there's still some people missing. So 12 people that had such a burning desire died because of that desire. And, the ones that are missing are probably dead too. Because if you go missing up there, They haven't confirmed you're dead because they didn't find your body, but you are in most cases.
Yeah.
So who could say, well, I didn't really want to do it, but I did it? Nobody. See, you definitely got to be motivated. But once you're that motivated, you risk your life, your fingers, your toes, your nose. You know, your lungs may be damaged. Your brain, you know, just because you don't die doesn't mean you don't have brain damage for the rest of your life. You know, why'd you do that? The challenge. I just wanted to do. I just had to do it. Leaving wives and children and jobs and all kinds of things behind, and putting that as the number one priority.
Yeah. This is a strong
against usually the wishes of the wives.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't do
exactly.
that. But I have to. Okay, I understand. You can go because I know you'll be miserable if you don't. So my point is, our point is, if you develop a desire to know the Lord, then you're going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? I mean, when they climb Everest, they walk by dead bodies. You know, there's people that died previously that they just leave the bodies up there. And maybe the winds uncover the body, and here's this, you know, this guy might have been there 20 years or plus, perfectly preserved. And they just walk by, and they just keep going. Oh, not you know, or they hear on their radio, oh, 2 people died, you know, and they just keep going.
Yeah. Wow.
So desire that's the main the main thing. If you don't have that,
well, and that's just that's opposite to the ascending method, right? Or I don't know if it's, but just we don't even need to go there. Just that's different from what you would think the answer would be. You could think the answer would be do this, this practice, but the most important thing is the desire. Develop the desire. And of course, then there are things you can do to develop the desire, but just, I don't know.
Well, yeah, once you've got the desire, you'll search out, what should I do now?
Yeah.
And that's where the spiritual master, not the only place, but that's one obvious place the spiritual master comes in.
Right. But the desire doesn't come from nowhere. You can develop a desire. That's also something that might be new to people, because you think, oh, if the desire is just coming to me, then I'll do it. If I feel like chanting, then I'll do it. No, you can actually develop the desire.
Yeah. So a lot of people in the beginning, they got maybe a little interest, but not really a big desire.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really kind of interested, but if they, you know, start this process and they're around good association, then they become more and more desirous. Yeah, I want to do this. You know, in the beginning, it was like, yeah, okay. Or maybe they didn't even want to come, but some friend brought them. And they just came to accompany their friend.
Yeah.
You know, but lo and behold, you know, they were touched and purified, and they started going, yeah, I want to know more, I want to do more, I want to get more involved.
Yeah.
And it grows and grows.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything more you'd like to add to come back to the original question of, like, in a optimal, if you make a plan for your spiritual life, you want to do this, what to do and what things we spoke about the buffet table of different things, and I don't know. Do you feel like there's something missing in this puzzle? Would you like to supply anything?
You know, I don't really like this idea of making a plan, because then I'm the doer. You see, I am going to make a plan on how I'm going to be spiritually successful. The plan's already made. All you got to do is follow the plan that's already there. See, but we're so complex in our minds and so used to being in a position of, I'm going to do it, I'm going to make it happen, I'm going to make this plan and I'm going to follow this. And, you know, things change along the way. You know, and if we get stuck in a plan, then maybe we'll miss opportunities but that wasn't in the plan.
Yeah, I see.
You know, so my plan should be to come with a desire to come to know and love the Lord, to find a true spiritual master, true spiritual guide, and that's the end of the plan. Then the plan is His plan for me. His meaning the spiritual master and the Lord.
Yeah.
And let them be the ones who decide, not me and my plan.
Right.
See, I don't like that approach. That's a business calculated, material kind of concept. Make your outline, you know, and the bullet point presentation.
Well, let's say you're gonna get to know a person. That would be very weird if you're deciding you want to get to know a person and you write down exactly, you know, how you're gonna approach and how you're gonna.
First, I'm gonna, you know, get the girl's name. Then I'm gonna find out where she lives. Then I'm gonna try to find out what she likes. Then I'm gonna buy the kind of flower that I've been told. Then I'm gonna give it to her. Then I'm gonna ask her to dinner. Then, you know. We're forgetting that she's got some say in this, you know. Would you like to go to dinner? No. Oh, my plan screwed up.
You're like a stalker.
You ruined my plan.
Yeah. That's true.
And she's going to like me like this, and she's going to feel like that. And, you know.
I get your point.
It's the wrong approach, really. That's not what we're taught. Mm-hmm. See, the plan should be to come to the perfect teaching and follow it. That should be the end of the plan.
Right. And that's the descending process.
Yeah. But the ascending process is I am the doer. And I'll sit and I'll do my kundalini and I'll raise the, you know, the life air from the root chakras of this and that and I'll whatever, you know, the process that we plan, you know. And you may or may not be successful, and if you are, it's not final success anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the plan maker is very stiff, and he's hard to move, you know. Whereas the person who's, okay, here I am. I'm the pawn on the chessboard.
Yeah.
You know, you move me as I need to be moved. Externally, internally, both, whatever. Then you're just saying, okay, you move me. I'm here. I'm your pawn. You do what you know is best.
And what's the, you know, comparison if you have like, if you have a tree that's especially like an old tree, it's getting really like dry and stiff and it's very windy. It doesn't move at all. And then, you know, it just cracks because it doesn't budge. But if you have a soft, fresh tree, then it just like, it moves, it adapts to the change instead of like you say stiff. And
In Southeast Asia, they compare it to bamboo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you should be able to bend like young bamboo. The wind can't break it. It just blows right to the ground and it pops back up. But old bamboo, brittle bamboo, just the same thing. So. Or the chess example, you know, like you've got a chessboard with all the pawns on it. And here's the master chess player, see, and he's the one who has the vision of the whole game, and see. But if this pawn is glued to this place, it's time to move it, but you can't move it. You can't, so you lose, you know. Whereas if everybody, it's time to move here, okay, now I move here and I move back, then, you can be a successful pawn for the master. I'm staying here. No, I don't want to go there. I don't know the game of chess at all, but I know there's pawns that are moved around.
Did you see the big chess field over here?
I didn't.
Oh, yeah, there's like 1 meter tall chess pawns that you can move around. Yeah.
Right.
But,
So yeah, tell your friend, just to don't be so mental. Just be relaxed, chant, follow the process. And things will happen nicely. Not that you shouldn't think and use your intelligence, but, just be a little more relaxed.
Yeah, I think he'll be listening. He loves this podcast. He listens to it a lot. So
Oh, he does?
I think you will be hearing.
Yeah. Good.
Hearing.
Well, I guess we can chant.
Yeah. Chanting, hearing. So.
I've had a few people lately say they listen to the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And that they like it. Let's see if this chair will allow us to play guitar.
I know, I saw that it's got not optimal.
These chairs are like prisons. You can't do much.
Okay, let's hope this.
Okay, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo. Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo.
Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo.
Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo.
Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo.
Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo.
Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo.
Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo.
Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo.
Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo.
Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo.
Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo.
Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo.
Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai go, Haribo, Haribo, Nitai go, Nitai go,
Haribo, Nitai go, Nitai go, Haribo, Haribo, Nitai go, Nitai go, Haribo.
Go, Ranga Haribo. Go, Ranga Haribo. Go, Ranga Haribo. Go, Ranga Haribo. Go, Ranga Haribo. Go, Ranga Haribo. Go, Ranga Haribo. Go, Ranga Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo, Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo,
Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo, Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo.
Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo, Haribo, Goranga, Haribo,
Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo, Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo.
Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo.
Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo.
Haribo. Okay, so thanks everybody for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Balakhilya.
Thank you, Ruben.
Very nice to be with you in person.
And
person.
live. A few thousand kilometers apart. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no internet problems.
No, exactly. Exactly. You don't freeze.
Yeah,
I don't freeze. No freezing.
Yeah, no glitches. Yeah, the
Thank
real
you.
world.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Real flowers we can feel and smell. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, everybody, thanks for joining.
Yeah. Thank you a lot, everyone. Whoever's listening out there.
You can always
Wonderful.
share the link.
Yeah. Please do.
And we appreciate it if you do.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
So we'll see you next time. Somebody else will have another question.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, send in your comments, your questions. I mean, if you want to know it and we know the answer, we will be happy to pass it on.
And my answer might not be exactly what you think it is, but that's the point. Then we learn something. I mean, if you already knew, then
Yeah.
like...
So really try to live a life that cultivates desires that'll be beneficial for you. Because you're going to follow your desires regardless. Good, bad, or indifferent. That's just how it is.
So then I see the point. You're going to follow the desires and then better follow the desires that are going to help you or make your life better.
Yeah.
Happier.
And as Ruben pointed out in what we quoted from the Bhagavad Gita, you can develop good desires. You know, cultivate, develop. Okay.
Thank you.
Next time.
It's
Adaptable. Namaste.
Namaste.